Take a Look Real Estate Brokers is celebrating 10 years in Central Ohio. And it's 10 years right now, but we actually started, the story goes back to 1994. And really, what we want to recognize in today's event is that we realize that we didn't get here on our own, that actually we stand on the shoulders of many independent Black-owned brokerages that either are still operating today and or that came before us. There's a reason why our name is Take a Look Real Estate Brokers. That word real estate brokers is really a technical term that was identified by the state of Ohio to designate who was in charge, who the person in charge would be, the word broker. And somehow, real estate broker or real estate licensee has now become synonymous with the word realtor. And one of the things we want to identify and make clear to everybody who gets into the business today, we want everyone to understand that real estate licensee and realtor are two very different terms. The realtor is a trade name, and the real estate licensee is an actual designation with the state of Ohio. The real estate brokers dates back, better than 100 years. And, when we talk about Black Lives Matter, we need to think about Black economics and how Black economics matters. Well, many of you might know the story of Black Wall Street. It was a time of opportunity and a time of a thriving lifestyle for many Black people. But what ultimately happened was the destroying of those opportunities. So what we want to tell you is the story of a gentleman by the name of Sam Hooker. Mr. Hooker was one of those folks who actually operated and was an entrepreneur in the Black Wall Street era. He and his family lived there, and he had a daughter by the name of Olivia, who he ultimately brought to Columbus, Ohio. He and his whole family relocated. And they relocated after, Olivia was hiding under a desk and hidden by her mother with the violence that was preyed upon her family during the destruction of those families that were building wealth in Oklahoma during the Black Wall Street era. So when we're talking about the Black real estate brokers, one of the things that we want to talk about is the National Association of Real Estate Brokers. Initially, when Black brokers were able to become licensed and registered with the state, fully and dually licensed, they were not allowed to join trade organizations like the National Association of Realtors. And they were also not allowed to come into the properties that they were selling or sell properties to people of color in specific neighborhoods that were non-colored. And there were some significant challenges in becoming a real estate broker and being able to serve your community if you could not participate in things like what we call now the multiple listing service and be able to show your clients every property that was available to them based on their income and the availability of the house for them to purchase. Literally, they needed to create their own organization, and that starts with the National Association of Real Estate Brokers, which was very instrumental in building out the platform that got our laws, our civil rights laws, in order in 1968. You know, it was a long, hard fight to get Black people into the National Association of Realtors, and even our own Columbus Board of Realtors denied Black applicants access to the benefits of becoming a realtor, which is again a trade name. So we were given the task of figuring it out and trying to create our own. With that National Association of Real Estate Brokers, that was our trade organization. And the one thing that that organization represented that we can all go back and learn from today is a collective unit. We had a significant amount of unity as that organization grew and became our dominant force for getting things done in the real estate community. Now, since 1970, we were then allowed finally, after the civil rights laws of 1968, so in 1970, we were allowed to actually join the National Association of Realtors and including the Columbus Board of Realtors. And what that did was it gave us access to additional information. Leila I. Francis is one of the people we want to recognize. Now, it's challenging because we don't have really accurate historical information. But what we believe that we found is that Leila I. Francis out of Dayton, Ohio, was given the name of Realtor, being the first Realtor in Ohio and the second nationally. It only stands to reason that if, in fact, we're in a city, a metropolitan city as large as Central Ohio, we should, in fact, take the time to represent our families, our friends, our co-workers, and our communities. As you know, the Columbus Board of Realtors is a cooperative. And although we understand that that cooperative exists and we are a member of that cooperative, we also understand that as a unit, the independent Black-owned brokerages, we too must be a cooperative. Today we honored our honorees because they meet a specific criteria. They are all independent Black-owned brokerages. We recognize that there are other Black brokers who are operating in Central Ohio, and we acknowledge and honor their contribution as well. But tonight, we are honoring the independent Black-owned brokerages that we have identified as service excellence. We are so excited because we have the opportunities to share this evening with our esteemed honorees. We recognize the trailblazers that have come before us and those trailblazers who continue today. We honor them. Today, our honorees are the following: Broker Henry and Mrs. Teresa Bland of H.C. Bland Realty, Broker Art Lee and the late Mrs. Roberta Lee of Art Lee Realty, Broker Rosetta Hayes Borders of Tri-County First Choice Realty, Broker Antonio Reese of Reese Realty Group, Broker Vanessa Sutton of Affordable Real Estate, Broker Daryl Isabel of Premier Select Real Estate, and Broker Donald Payne Sr. of Vision Realty. We welcome our brokers, our honorees, and are so thankful and grateful for all the work they do in our Central Ohio market. Thank you.
So my name is Ashley Thomas, and I'm a licensed real estate agent here at Take a Look Real Estate. And I came from a bigger brokerage and made the transition to a smaller, independent, Black-owned brokerage. For me, Take a Look Real Estate is more than just a brokerage. It's a movement, and to be a part of that is truly exciting. The Black-owned independent brokerage, the difference being a part of that as opposed to being a part of the bigger box brokerages, the nationally recognized brokerages, is that you get a sense of family, you get a sense of community. You get, with it being Black owned, it's a sense of ownership in itself because this represents me, and then it represents our community. And I think that's something that's lacking in our community. So to be a part of that is inspirational. So did becoming affiliated with a Black-owned brokerage hurt my visibility or reduce my business? Absolutely not. It actually had the opposite effect. And since coming to Take a Look, my business has flourished. The mentorship that I'm under here has allowed my business to thrive. So being a part of an independent brokerage, a lot of the misconceptions are that we don't, that you're not supported well. As in, you don't have the technology, you don't have the tools, and you don't have the money. There's not the money, the funding behind it to give you those things. But the quality is there, and I mean, you don't really technically need technology in real estate for your business to thrive. That's something that's really important to understand, that real estate is a people business. So at the end of the day, you need to make connections, and you can't make those connections if you're hiding behind technology. Another advantage of being with a smaller brokerage, being with an independent brokerage, is the family atmosphere and the ability to be more community oriented. And that's something that I love about Take a Look, because we have these events where we go into the community and we educate and we help. It's Time to Own It is a movement in itself where we're educating the community on ownership and financial literacy and the importance of that. And that is something that lacks in our community. We're not taught that when we're younger. I didn't learn about credit until I was grown. So, it's something that's really important. I speak to it being a family environment because we do have get-togethers where we come together, we do paint and sips, we go out to dinner. It's a very team environment. And when people think about real estate and they think about this industry, it's often associated with being cutthroat, with being very competitive. And you would think that you would see that more so in a Black-owned brokerage, but it's complete opposite. Here, we work on teams, we work well together, we respect each other, and it's just allowed our businesses, all of our businesses, to thrive. When I started back in the beginning of 2019, we were at 5 or 6 agents, and now today we're sitting at 16. So it's tremendous growth, and everyone sees that energy and they flock towards it. Being a part of an independent brokerage, a Black brokerage, is important to foster a positive mindset because of the mindset that has been indoctrined for hundreds of years into the Black community. Like I said earlier, that people think of real estate, they think of it being cutthroat. And when you think of the Black community especially, we always tend to have that crab in the barrel mentality. That mentality of if I succeed, I'm going to succeed on my own, and I'm going to kick down whoever is trying to succeed with me. And we need to change that, and we need to change that to where we're uplifting people and we're uplifting each other and our peers, because when one of us succeeds, we all succeed. So I know you probably are all familiar with Willie Lynch and the Willie Lynch letter, and I'm going to read that letter today because that is exactly where that mindset stems from. This speech was delivered by Willie Lynch on the bank of the James River in the colony of Virginia in 1712. Lynch was a British slave owner in the West Indies. He was invited to the colony of Virginia in 1712 to teach his methods to slave owners there. The term lynching is derived from his last name. Greetings, gentlemen. I greet you here on the bank of the James River in the year of our Lord, 1712. First, I shall thank you, the gentlemen of the colony of Virginia, for bringing me here. I am here to help you solve some of your problems with slaves. Your invitation reached me on my modest plantation in the West Indies, where I have experimented with some of the newest and still the oldest methods of control of slaves. Ancient Rome would envy us if my program is implemented. As our boat sailed south on the James River, named for our illustrious king, whose version of the Bible we cherish, I saw enough to know that your problem is not unique. While Rome used cords of wood as crosses for standing human bodies along its highways in great numbers, you are here using the tree and the rope on occasions. I caught the whiff of a dead slave hanging from a tree a couple miles back. You are not only losing valuable stock by hangings, you are having uprisings. Slaves are running away. Your crops are sometimes left in the fields too long for maximum profit. You suffer occasional fires. Your animals are killed. Gentlemen, you know what your problems are. I do not need to elaborate. I am not here to enumerate your problems. I am here to introduce you to a method of solving them. In my bag here, I have a foolproof method for controlling your black slaves. I guarantee every one of you that if installed correctly, it will control the slaves for at least 300 years. My method is simple. Any member of your family or your overseer can use it. I have outlined a number of differences among the slaves, and I take these differences and make them bigger. I use fear, distrust, and envy for control purposes. These methods have worked on my modest plantation in the West Indies, and it will work throughout the South. Take this simple list of differences and think about them. On top of my list is age, but it's there only because it starts with an A. The second is color or shade. There is intelligence, size, sex, sizes of plantations, status of plantations, attitude of owners, whether the slaves live in the valley, on a hill, east, west, north, south, have fine hair, coarse hair, or is tall or short. Now that you have a list of differences, I shall give you an outline of action. But before that, I shall assure you, distrust is stronger than trust and envy, stronger than adulation, respect, or admiration. The black slaves, after receiving this indoctrination, shall carry on and will become self-refueling and self-generating for hundreds of years. And I want to repeat that. The black slaves, after receiving this indoctrination, shall carry on and will become self-refueling and self-generating for hundreds of years, maybe thousands. Don't forget, you must pitch the old black male versus the young black male, and the young against the old. You must use the dark-skinned slaves versus the light-skinned slaves, and the light-skinned slaves versus the dark-skinned slaves. You must use the female versus the male, and the male versus the female. You must also have white servants and overseers who distrust all blacks. But it is necessary that your slaves trust and depend on us. They must love, respect, and trust only us. Gentlemen, these kits are your keys to control. Use them. Have your wives and children use them. Never miss an opportunity. If used intensely for 1 year, the slaves themselves will use them. Remain perpetually distrustful. Thank you. So this is why we celebrate independent Black-owned brokerages. It's very important to change this mindset and stop pitting each other against one another, and to support. And if Black lives matter, then Black economics should matter more.
Columbus, Ohio is a city with nearly 2 million people traveling throughout the streets of Columbus, living here, giving back to the community, working, living, and playing in Central Ohio. One of the concerns that I have as I look at the numbers, Columbus has and normally sells somewhere around 4,000 properties per month. Now, It is definitely of concern because when you look at those numbers, and if I take a sampling of who sold those homes, mostly those homes are not sold necessarily by the Black-owned brokers. We have a population of Black people in Central Ohio that nears around 18%. Given that population, we should be taking a percentage of the volume that goes through the sales transaction process. Although the numbers are not clear, I'm not clear on the numbers. What I can say is that as I've identified the Black-owned brokers that are independent brokerages in Central Ohio, and I look at the total number of sales amongst the Black-owned brokerages, we are certainly not getting a fair share of this marketplace. The one thing that I want to iterate after listening to the Willie Lynch letter and just studying the concepts of Willie Lynch is that we are no longer in the confines of the Willie Lynch mechanism if we don't choose to be there. Right now, what I see that we have substantial opportunity if we can come together and begin a unity, collaborative, cooperative system so that all of our Black-owned brokerages that are independent are able to take advantage of what is presented within our communities. To me, it's a no-brainer. Right now, our markets, in terms of technology, in terms of knowledge base, in terms of being able to secure what should be, it is only a matter of cooperation amongst the independent Black-owned brokers to make it happen. So tonight, as we begin to enjoy the festivities of this evening, I just want to thank each and every honoree and all of their support systems as we come together and honor you for all that you've contributed to Central Ohio in making the Black-owned brokerages relevant. Thank you for attending. I hope you enjoy everything that we do this evening and understand that this is heartfelt, coming from all of us to all of you. Thank you and enjoy tonight.